Hello, welcome back. Thank you for joining me today. What we're going to do is we're going to pick up where we left off in the last video, which was about setting the goal and the goal automatically bringing all of the means and the inevitable result in line. So if you would like a refresher of that, I invite you to take a look at the last video, the very last one. The title is Let's All Pay Attention. This is powerful. And to that, we can certainly hold. It is powerful. The bottom line on this is always that the Holy Spirit and the ego see things completely differently, which should come as no surprise. That is why we're invited to choose the Holy Spirit. That's why we're invited to choose truth, why we're invited to choose peace and to set the goal of every situation, every single situation, every interaction as truth. Set the goal as truth, as love, if you want to put it that way, as God. Yeah. Set the goal as truth and the means, everything that happens in the process, falls right into line. This is what happens when we invite the Holy Spirit into our relationships, into every situation in life. And by relationship, I do not mean simply our romantic partnerships. That, of course, is what people commonly think of as a relationship in the world. That's what gets all of the popular media and social media attention anyway. It is what it is, but this is much more expansive than just that. So you might be wondering, and this is something that we're going to talk about here today. Yeah, you might be rightly wondering, okay, so you're telling me to set the goal as truth. Well, this isn't telling you anything. The Holy Spirit's inviting you to do that. So you might be asking, and rightly so, okay, well, what's the benefit in that? What's in it for me? That is not a cynical question, by the way. It's perfectly valid along with all of the other questions here on the spiritual path. And you may well find yourself thinking, okay, well, that all sounds well and good here in this context of a series of videos about A Course in Miracles. I'm devoting 15 to 20 minutes of my life to watch this. And okay, it all sounds good, but as a practical matter, you may find, well, I'm not really able to do this, or I find it hard. Common, very common. You're not alone in that. That comes up for each and every spiritual student of each and every spiritual tradition that's out there. It's part of the path. So let's have this conversation about what's in it for you. Peace. Peace is in it for you. The peace of God is in it for you. And as you have peace and truth dawns of itself, awakening, enlightenment, the end of suffering, the end of clinging to this false sense of separated self, and all of the pain that that entails. And that pain is what we've had enough of in order to embark on the spiritual path. I mean, it is. We don't wish to go through all of that psychodrama any longer. And we look for a path to peace. That's where we all find ourselves. So When you accept truth as the goal of any situation, no matter how small it may seem, and it may seem to be as small as walking the dog, set the goal as truth. See what happens. You know, might be a simple phone call. I mean, an email, writing an email, set the goal as truth. See what happens. And just keep doing it over and over again. We need this repetition because we've been so conditioned and accustomed to doing it the other way around, the ego way, which, as we all know, doesn't work because it does not bring us what we deep down all really and truly seek, whether we're consciously aware of it or not. We all seek the peace of God. So we're invited, and this is, by the way, chapter 17, section 6 of the text, which is entitled Setting the Goal. And that's what we're talking about. That's the last video. That's this video. We're invited to set the goal as truth. Something very, very important and very powerful happens. All of the means fall in line. Everyone, and I do mean everyone involved, does their part. How can you guarantee this? Because people seem to be so unpredictable. Well, we ourselves are also so unpredictable. Let's, not just point all of the blame at someone else. It's our dream, after all. When we set the goal as truth, everything and everyone plays their part. Guaranteed. Why? You've left this to the Holy Spirit. You've invited the Holy Spirit to enter. And before any situation, I frequently invite him in my mind specifically. Enter this situation. Please run this situation. Please enter this situation and step back and see what happens. It's very, very powerful, and we're all invited to try it. When we set truth as the goal, everything falls into place. People all do their part. And of course, it's beyond our little ego self. We're setting that aside in letting the Holy Spirit run the show. The Holy Spirit, our inner teacher, call it whatever you want, sees everything as whole, as complete. The ego sees it as fragmented and sends us off to work on one little person over here, ignoring all these others who are apparently separate. And it has you look everywhere but in here, right? And as we run about placing blame, we continue to flounder and we wonder why. Well, that's why. We're listening to the wrong teacher. You're invited to listen to your inner teacher. It is that simple. And we're invited in A Course in Miracles over and over. We are, because we're all stubborn adult learners. Let's be honest. We all need this repetition, which is why these videos appear so often. I mean, you may have wondered why there are over 1,000 of these. Well, because spirituality doesn't go anywhere. It's not something that should be reserved for one day a week for 1 hour on that given day. And then the rest of the 6 days and 23 hours, we can run amok. Yeah, it's not like that. It's all the time. Another benefit of setting truth as the goal is as everything falls into place, exactly the way the Holy Spirit sees it, peace is the outcome. Give a situation over to the Holy Spirit, set truth as the goal, peace is the outcome. No matter what appears to happen on the surface, you may want somebody to buy something from you or to say something in particular to you or to take a particular action. And you know what? They may not. And that's fine. Peace is the outcome when you set truth as the goal. So this is very, very important that we experience this peace because that is the condition of truth. It is, we set truth as the goal, peace is the outcome, and peace is the condition of truth. What we mean by that is that's when awakening dawns writ large, right? We are peaceful when you're experiencing peace. That is the condition of truth. In other words, truth dawns of itself when you're at peace. In individual situations, truth dawns of itself when you're at peace. Could be, again, as simple as sending an email or making a phone call. And in the grander scheme of things, when we've completely clarified our perception and we're at peace, truth dawns of itself. That's enlightenment, awakening, liberation, realizing God, however you wish to call that. This is how we do it. It's very, very powerful. So not only do you set truth as the goal and see everything fall in line because everybody does their part, the outcome is peace, and peace is the condition of truth. When your mind is at peace, truth dawns of itself. That's how it works. So, a very short, summarized answer is what's in it for you? Awakening, the peace of God, what we all deep down want. It's some incredibly powerful stuff. And it's important for us as students of this course because all too often, and habitually, really, we get drawn back into the blame game and judgment. And rather than want truth as the outcome of a particular situation, we want to get something from somebody. Let's use a simple business context. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're doing for work, but let's use the example of someone who makes a lot of telephone calls. And one of the objectives of their work is to make a sale. So you could approach this, of course, with a couple of different attitudes. You could approach it from the standpoint that the ego sees of trying to get something out of somebody. And we can see in this example how that can be fraught with peril and the possibility for disappointment, because what if someone hangs up on you, or you go through all of this effort and they don't end up buying something from you, and you don't have the money that you would have had otherwise, right? For example, and we can think of many different examples in life. However, if you approach this same situation with the goal of truth, even if they don't buy anything from you, or even if they never pick up the phone, peace is the inevitable outcome. This is powerful because it changes our attitude completely. It changes our attitude. It changes our bearing in life. It changes our carriage. What I mean by this, it changes the way we show up in the world. When truth is the goal, you show up super, super powerful. If you don't believe me, that's absolutely fine. Just try it. I mean, what else can you do, right? If nothing else has been working for you, try this. Do this course and do it. Don't try to do it. Do it. Put it into practice. So many people come to A Course in Miracles with a lot of experience with other spiritual traditions, a lot of experience with other modalities. Everybody's situation is completely different, of course, but it's quite common for people to have tried this and tried that and not found the peace of God. Well, if you practice this course, it's inevitable. Why? Because you'll be invited to set the goal as truth, truth for every situation, and watch all of the means, watch all of the circumstances arrange themselves, which is the Holy Spirit going to work, of course, but they arrange themselves, they fall in line. People play their part perfectly. Situations arrange themselves perfectly so that you're at peace. What happens when you're at peace? Boom, truth dawns of itself. It's very powerful. And what we appear to do here is go through this in micro, in specific situations. The content is exactly the same. We go through it in various what appear to be transactions in our lives, but we approach it with the Holy Spirit, thinking with the Holy Spirit rather than with the ego, who just wants to get something from somebody, to take, really. We're invited to have a different attitude, and you will find when you do this, when you do this, and yeah, I do mean really, truthfully, honestly do this, that your entire experience of this wild spinning ball of rock changes. You show up differently. Your attitude is different. Does that mean you'll make more friends? Well, not necessarily. That's really not the point, but it's pretty likely. I mean, what's more likely? Someone's going to respond to someone who enters a situation with a loving energy, or someone that is, well, creepy or angry or enraged or violent, right? What attracts people more? And making more friends is not the goal. Making more money is not the goal either, though that could very well happen. It's not the point. The point of this course is not to change anything in the world. There is no world. Central teaching of this course. If you've never heard that before, welcome. It's not about changing the world. It's about changing our mind. That's where the action is. That is why this course makes very, very clear that as a self-study curriculum, it is a course in mind training, which of course on the surface, that doesn't necessarily sound sexy and hot. It doesn't look or sound glittery, but when what we all want is the peace of God, and Jesus is showing us the way, do you not want to take a couple of steps down the path today? That's all we can do each and every day is let ourselves be led as far as we're willing and able to go today. And then we get up again tomorrow and we do the exact same thing. It's very, very powerful. Set the goal as truth in all of your interactions. And remember to do it today. When you get carried off by your social media feed or politics or worry about bills or stuff, because life goes on as we've dreamed it up and fashioned it. When you get carried off, simply bring your awareness back to your inner teacher. Simply bring your awareness back to the goal of truth for every situation. Set it, invite the Holy Spirit in, relax and trust, and see peace begin to dawn in your life. It's oh so worth it. All right. So I thank you, as always, for tuning in. And I really thank you all for your recent subscriptions. Welcome to those of you who have recently joined us, and to those who have asked questions and commented here on the thread on YouTube. I appreciate that. I've set this up as a forum to discuss these topics. So if you have questions or comments, or you'd simply like to pop in and say hello, I'd love to hear from you. This YouTube comment thread is absolutely the perfect place for doing that. And if you have not subscribed, please do that. This is the prompt in the corner of your screen. When you click that, you'll be invited to subscribe and join us. And several videos appear each week because, like we said earlier, spirituality doesn't go anywhere. It, in fact, is all of life. So you'll always find an application for these teachings. And that's the point. That's how we learn the best, is by putting them into practice. So if you have questions along the way, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask me. And I thank you, as always, for joining me. I'll talk to you soon.